Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Cade with Rooted Apothecary, and I am joined by Haley. Thank you again, Haley, for being here with me. And today we've got lots of fun stuff to talk about, and we're going to focus on this lovely digestive tummy roller called Vibe. So, Haley, where do we start? We got lots to talk about.
We do. So we're going to go through similar to what we did last week, and we're going to talk about a couple of different gut and tummy issues that you might run into, and then some things that we can do to alleviate these things. So let's start off with food sensitivity.
Okay, so this is a big one that I think a lot of people struggle with, and it shows up as some different types of issues, right? So you kind of have two different options to do here. You can either test if you'd like to test to see if you have a food sensitivity. Like again, when you're eating a certain food, you experience either reflux or some bloating or some gas or just feeling crummy. So you can test to identify that or you can eliminate. And I think those are completely opposite ends of the spectrum, right? If you feel like, it's not in a crisis or a complex case, haven't been diagnosed with anything crazy, it's very easy to eliminate a food. So pick one at a time, get rid of it for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you can introduce that food. And when you do, listen to your body. It'll tell you what's going on. And really the biggest ones, Haley, that people see sensitivities with are things like grains, dairy, eggs, and nuts and seeds. And so we'll let you figure out and decide which one you want to start with, but those are really the big ones. And then on the flip side of it is testing. And so we work with a couple different labs in our office. One is Meridian Valley Labs. We've been working with them for about 8 years, and they do a self-collection food sensitivity test. And I think they've got two different tests. They even have an inhalant test if you're dealing with a lot of respiratory issues, which is great. But they offer one, I believe it's a finger prick, and it's 95 different foods. And so what I would do is encourage people to go onto their website, Meridian Valley Labs, and you can see if you're eating a lot of the things that are on that 95 list, you can go ahead and just get it tested, and it'll tell you which ones you have a mild, moderate, or severe sensitivity to. Or you can jump in a little bit deeper. They also offer one with 190 different foods. So look through both of those and maybe save yourself some money if you're not, eating a wide variety of things. Or else, if you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune issue, we really love the labs called Cyrex Labs. Now their testing is a little bit more expensive, but it is also a little bit more in depth. And they also do a test called a brain cross-reactivity test. And we can see if there is really issues in the gut, has that affected other tissues in the body, specifically the brain?
Awesome. Yeah, so I definitely want to also point out throughout all of this discussion that everyone's body is different. So just because something works for one person and a certain diet works for one person doesn't mean that it'll definitely work for you. That's why some of these elimination testing or some of these different sensitivity testings are great because you can find what works for you and what doesn't work for you, which may be different from your friends or family members. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what we're really all about is giving you guys options, right? We want to give you short, quick, to the point and give you again that kind of that spectrum so you can do what makes most sense. Maybe it's budget that limits you. Maybe it's that your symptoms aren't so severe. Maybe that you've worked with other doctors or professionals in the past and you just haven't gotten to where you want to go and you want to continue to do it by yourself. Whatever the case is, your health is your responsibility.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, so we'll move on to talk a little bit about bacterial dysbiosis.
Oh, this is a big one, isn't it? So antibiotics are a really big deal. And antibiotics, we know, don't just kill the bad stuff, it kills the good stuff. And, most of us, when we, are forced to take that, it's an unfortunate situation. Thank God we have access to those things in an emergency, but there is a price to pay. And a lot of us, after going through a round of antibiotics, don't go through and try to repair the good stuff, right? And so bacterial dysbiosis is a real thing. And that means that we have an imbalance of the good and bad bacteria in the gut. And so there's a lot of different tests that you can do for this. And again, we'll go through the different spectrum. Let's start with tests this time and just have some fun. It would be a comprehensive stool test. And there's a lot of different companies out there that do it. One of the ones that I really like is Vibrant Labs. And then there's also another one called Genova. And when you do a stool test, it'll give you information on the amount of bacteria, the different types of bacteria, and again, the balance between the good and the bad. And so then once you know what your specific microbiome is, again, it's a term that we use for the balance of the bacteria in the body. What we know where your microbiome is missing or not as diverse, we can actually go in and target those specific strains through probiotics or different foods. And so again, that's with testing. On the flip side, if you want to do some home testing, if you've had frequent like skin issues or yeast infections, or if you look at your tongue and your tongue is a little bit white or pasty, If you, there's lots of different things that you can look up online. But if you're experiencing some of those things, there's probably, maybe again, indigestion could be another one. You're healing a little bit slower, wounds take a little bit longer to close. Those are, again, ways that we can look to see if there's intestinal dysbiosis. So if you want to do a home test, you can look up a Candida spit test. Haley, we were talking about that a little bit. It's kind of nasty, but if you just want to do a simple Google search, you can see. And is it perfectly scientific and foolproof? I don't think so, but at least can help you a little bit see if there is a bacterial overgrowth. And Candida is one of the more common ones that people suffer with. Brain fog would be another symptom that people deal with that's beyond the digestive tract. So ways that we can go after and try to help the bacterial dysbiosis, again, is eating fermented foods, staying away from antibiotics unless it's an emergency. Fluoride does a little bit too. There's some other poisons and toxins and chemicals that will also kill some of the good bacteria in our gut. Other things as increasing natural sources of prebiotics. And I'll let you, do a search online to see what are your favorite prebiotics, but we can get that in food and we can get all those things in supplement form. If you are already taking probiotics and are not getting to where you want to go, we'll talk about a little bit more here coming up on indigestion, but we always recommend to people to rotate your probiotics. It's just like, the seasons that we experience here, are from a year to year, right? We should also be rotating our food and rotating our probiotics. We're not always getting the same thing.
Awesome. I think you mentioned it just a second ago that we're going to go and move towards digestion. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to mention just for me, one of my favorite probiotics and prebiotics is Seed. So you can look that one up if you're not currently using a probiotic and you want to put that into your routine. Seed is a really great one. I know Cade has a couple other ones that he really likes if you want to mention those. But again, you want to cycle through these, like he said.
So seed is SEED, just like a seed, right, that we plant into the ground. And I love that there's a couple companies out there, again, that are doing this prebiotic, probiotic thing. There's also a lot of talk about spore-based probiotics. It's important to get not just the amount of probiotics that are in the pill by the time they ship it out from the factory, but how much of those probiotics are surviving the acidity of the stomach and are able to, again, create diversity inside of the gut. So the ones that we really love with patients are Restore Flora by Microbiome Labs and then TerraFlora. And you can find both of those online. They're great.
Awesome. Cool. So we'll go into talk a little bit more about digestion if you want to kick us off.
So the last little piece here, so we've talked about food sensitivity, we've talked about bacterial dysbiosis, and the last one would really be indigestion. So for the people that are experiencing reflux or the people that just don't feel like they're digesting their food properly, again, there's bloating, things like that. Looking at the digestive enzymes, the things that our body makes to break down the food properly so that our body can actually use it and absorb it and pull those into our system is really important. So the first thing would be stomach acid. And a lot of people out there are on medication to lower the acidity in the gut. And a lot of people that are on that still experience reflux where that feels like it's coming out. Now, if we don't have enough acidity in the stomach, the food is going to stay in the stomach longer, right? Because it has to break down. And so if we add in, seems weird, it seems counterintuitive, but what we've been told for so long, but when we add some acid into the stomach, we can actually digest and break down that food quicker in the stomach and get it out of the stomach and into the small intestine a little bit quicker. And so that supplement is called HCl betaine, and there's lots of brands that do that. And of course, with all of this stuff, we should probably give the disclaimer, Haley, right? That please work with your practitioner or ask your doctor about doing these things and do your own homework and research to make sure it's right for you. But HCl betaine is a relatively safe supplement to do, and you would do that before eating food, just a couple minutes before. And again, that will help your stomach break down the food better. Other things that you can do, if you had your gallbladder taken out, your body is going to have a very, very hard time breaking down fats. And we know that fat is essential for every cell in our body, but it's especially helpful and important, shouldn't say important, I should say crucial for neurologic health. If we don't have the proper amounts of fat, there's no chance that we're going to have a healthy brain. And again, if we have our gallbladder taken out, we're not properly digesting and absorbing those fats. So you can take a supplement called ox bile, and it's literally bile from an ox. I know it's horrible, right? But you take that before a meal, and it will help you properly absorb a fat. Do you have to take it with every meal? No, not if you're eating pasta or something that's rich in carbs. But if you're eating a fat-rich meal, something with coconut oil or olive oil, nuts and seeds, or a burger or something that's richer in fat, we want to make sure that we're getting something like that in. And then the last thing to cover with digestion here would be digestive enzymes. So once that food is out of the stomach and into the intestines, things like digestive enzymes would be really, really helpful. There's lots of brands out there. And I've got some more, 4 small kids, so we'll make sure that we talk about this one. There's lots of brands out there that are in capsules. There's a brand called Seeking Health that makes chewable digestive enzymes that taste pretty good. And it's not the best, it doesn't have the most or the biggest spectrum of digestive enzymes, but it's got enough in there, and our kids take them. So Seeking Health, I think it's called Optimal Chewable pro-digestive enzymes. I think it's something like some ridiculously long name that I can't remember, but they work and they're fantastic. And so you can do those before a meal if you are trying to actively go after something. But say sometimes my kids are complaining of an upset stomach. That's never going to hurt them. Digestive, simple, something small like that. Digestive enzymes never going to hurt them. So have fun with it. Give it a shot. But we did HCl betaine, ox bile, and digestive enzymes. Whew, that's a lot, Haley.
It is. We'll put everything that we've talked about in the description of this video as well. So if you're trying to like write it all down, we got you covered. The last thing I do want to mention with digestion is that there's tons of great organic digestive teas out there. One of our favorite brands is Traditional Medicinals. They have a couple of different tummy and belly comfort teas. You can always look to those for relief as well.
I love it. So, one of the best things that our brand stands upon is empowering you and building your natural toolbox or your natural medicine cabinet. So tea is a great way to do that. And if we want to have a bit of fun with it, instead of just drinking the tea and throwing away the tea bags, you can put those bags while they're warm, not hot, but directly on your tummy. You can also make a real strong batch of tea and throw that into the bathtub and mix with an Epsom salt or some bath soaks. And that's also going to be very helpful. And as long as we're talking about heat, if you've got a rice sock or something like that at home, putting that directly on your stomach is going to drive blood flow to those digestive organs, which I think is something that's so simple, it almost seems like it doesn't work. But it really goes a long way. So for people, again, with bloating or constipation, things like that, it's a great idea to add in some gentle heat along with these teas. Other things, of course, is we used to call it a tummy roller. We used to call it that. But now we call it Vibe. So you'll see it called Vibe on our website, but things like lavender and chamomile, ginger, anise is in there. So it's really a blend that's focused, again, for the digestive organs in our body. It's mixed with CBD so that we get a little bit of that relaxing, calming effect as well. So I'm just going to keep talking here, Haley, as long as you're giving me freedom and reign. For those of you that are struggling with digestive issues, food goes a long way, and we've talked, about that quite a bit. But fasting is super important, and you can give your organs a rest, whether it's intermittent fasting or if you want to do a 1 or a 5-day fast. Juicing cleanses are also really good because your body doesn't have to work so hard at absorbing this motion here that I'm using with my hands. We like to call it peristalsis in the gut, right, where it's breaking things down in the gut, absorbing it, and it's kind of mulching it through the tract. So again, bone broths, juicing, fasting, all those things will give that area a break. The Autoimmune Solution is a wonderful one. Lots of slow cooked meats and meals. We'll give a shout out to Dr. Tom O'Brien, who wrote this book called The Autoimmune Fix. If you're not so much a reader, you can also watch the wonderful docu-series called Betrayal, the Autoimmune series. And we play it in a hot seat videos here in our office so that patients can soak that in. And there's just so much data in that. And I think it's life-changing. And last one, Haley, I think that is also worth talking about is stimulating the vagus nerve. And for those of you that have not heard that, vagus is spelled V-A-G-U-S. And vagus nerve is what helps keep our body in a parasympathetic state, gets us out of that fight or flight stressful state where our body is more focused on survival instead of really digesting and healing and reproductive models, right? So the vagus nerve, when we can increase the tone and the health of that vagus nerve, our digestive system and sleeping and all those other things I just talked about are much, much better. So lots of information out there about that. But do you have a favorite way to tone your vagus nerve, Haley?
Gosh.
Put you on
I
the spot.
don't know that I have a favorite way, but I will say we've talked about this before in blog posts on our website, so I'll be sure to link those. We also have some of our medical advisory board members that have done great blog posts and videos on the vagus nerve as well. So I'll be sure to put those in the description, and you can visit those as well to look at what that is. It's definitely an interesting concept.
There's so much information out there about there. So I'm going to just do my favorite version of vagus nerve stimulation really quick. That's about as long as I can do it. So when you gargle, you stimulate your vagus nerve, which is wild. There's also music therapy,
Mhm.
tapping is another way to do it, singing, laughing. And I think there is some research coming out about the vagus nerve and our endocannabinoid system somehow being linked because there's a lot of overlap
Mhm.
between the two of those. So that's a lot, Haley. That's a lot.
For sure.
All right. What's the sale
Amazing.
on the rollers right now?
So they're 50% off. They're automatically that way on the site, so you don't have to use any special code. It's already on there. And again, today we talked about the Vibe Roller. Something that I also want to add in here is that we gave you a ton of information. We talked about food sensitivity. We talked about doing an elimination diet and different tests you can do. We talked about bacterial dysbiosis. We talked about indigestion. I want to say, along with all of these things, as you are going through them, if you have food sensitivities that you're trying to determine, you can use the Vibe Roller as you're having these issues to kind of carry you through. So I know for me, it's still something I'm working on. I'm still working on gut health, and whenever I do have discomfort, I have the Vibe Roller there for me to use and help.
It's so cool. To close up this video, I think it's important, again, just to reiterate, as we always do, that CBD is not the cure, right? But it is a part of the natural medicine cabinet, a part of the natural, toolbox, if you will. And the research and the science behind the endocannabinoid system and how it can help you through basically every stage of life is just amazing. We continue just to be in awe of that. So, yeah, just like Kaylee said, it is an important part of the tool here that will help you regardless of where you're at. So, thank you guys for joining us. We can't wait to do the next one next week. And we haven't decided which one, so stay tuned. We'll pick one and have some fun with it, just like we did today. And as always, if you have further questions, I know that we went through this stuff fast, but you can always reach out to us at hello@rootedapath.com. And we do offer free consultations with members of our medical advisory board. We just want to help you guys and serve you all, no matter where you're at. So thank you for joining us. Haley, appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much.